And we are live. Welcome into episode 54 of Betting the Pitch Soccer Podcast, going through the top 5 European soccer leagues and their gambling slate for this weekend. It is November 19th, the morning of here in the United States, where I think soccer is picking up. There's a big rights deal for English Premier League. For some reason, they didn't take the money. I'm really shocked by that. But that's not why you're here. I am the real underscore G Warner on Twitter. Please hit the follow button as much as you can, or subscribe or ask questions, whatever you want to do. The real underscore G Warner. As you can see in my tagline, bottom left of the screen. Hopefully that's where it shows up when you're looking at it. And without further ado, I'll start with the league that turned down a bunch of money to try to stick with NBC Sports, which is surprising to me, but maybe they wanted to actually be on TV on Saturdays and Sundays. And without further ado, we'll go to Leicester hosting Chelsea. So this is the early one on Saturday. International break's finally over. No more for the rest of 2021, which is a little bit sad for my bankroll, as I feel like that's where I've done best across the landscape of soccer. So Leicester is getting 3/4 of a goal at home from Chelsea. Chelsea have not really looked the same side ever since the injuries up front to Timo Werner and Lukaku. I think Lukaku is a little bit further away from returning, but ultimately I think there's still lovely. We're gonna have a bunch of emails coming through today, probably. But anyway, I think Werner is closer to returning. I'm not sure about his status for this matchup, and I would think that based on this line being where it is, that he's presumed to not be playing. Pulisic coming back in the U.S. men's national team is a good sign for their offensive situation. I'm not sure, again, if he's healthy or fit enough to start. So probably Havertz up top, who's been playing pretty well as kind of a lone striker kind of by himself. I do like that option, and I do like the idea of going against Leicester, which is a problem because I'm an underdog player, and I got to say Leicester have really struggled in both competitions, the Europa League and also in the Premier League. And Chelsea's defense, even though it's really hard to pick who they're going to play in FPL, for example. I'm not sure that I'm interested in Leicester unless they catch a full goal, which is an extremely high -170 right now. And even then, I'm not sure that I want to go against Chelsea really hoping for a 1-0 defeat and a push. Next on the list is Aston Villa hosting Brighton. Aston Villa, who just got rid of Dean Smith, their manager, and switched to somebody else who I probably should look up. And this is one of the more surprising lines that I've seen across the entire European slate so far this week, and that is Aston Villa giving 1/4 of a goal to Brighton. Brighton has not been great and will be without their keeper Sanchez, who got suspended for taking a red card for I think a tackle that he needed to make last match. But ultimately, Villa, they've done nothing offensively. Maybe over this international break, they've gotten healthier and Danny Ings in return. But if he's not there, Ollie Watkins is really a great forward for pressing, but needs a lot more help around him that he does not have currently. I think Steven Gerrard is coming in there now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, so he just came in from Rangers. So that's probably a good grab for them. We'll see what clearly a great Premier League player, but we'll see what he can do in a managerial sense. Graham Potter, the belle of the ball for all of the English media, have certainly has led Brighton to a great position in the league table. And I really don't understand why they're an underdog to a Villa team that has lost 5 straight, just fired their manager. Certainly there's a new manager bump that could be expected, but I don't think Villa's struggles were a lack of effort that a new manager is suddenly going to drum up. Maybe Gerard's going to have the X's and O's or whatever they call it in European soccer to outfox Graham Potter. But based on the English media fawning all over him, I'm really surprised to see Aston Villa a favorite here, and certainly Villa or fading Villa is very likely to be in my card with a Brighton play. Next on the list is Newcastle hosting Brentford, currently Pick'em, which if there's not any sort of underdog spread here, then it's unlikely to be in my card. Brentford, with a great start to the season, have not been playing well. Newcastle haven't been playing well at any time this season. Brought in a new manager, Eddie Howe. and got a really nice point in their last match, but and I think played a better second half, but I'm not really sure what to expect from them until the January transfer window, where supposedly they're going to be looking to bring in a bunch of players to save themselves. Pick them, not much for me to say, but so I'll move on. Burnley then hosting Crystal Palace, another pick 'em, similar type of speech for me. But Crystal Palace have been playing really well. Burnley also with a recent upturn in form. Can't really hate against that either. But Patrick Vieira looked like his tactics are taking hold. Crystal Palace really didn't do too much, I don't think, to their roster. Brought in some new players that didn't seem to be big splashes, but they've been playing really well. But not much for me to do here at Pick'em. Next is Norwich hosting Southampton, getting half of a goal at home. Norwich with a good win, kind of surprising against Brentford. 2 goals in the first half on the road and then held on for dear life. Tim Krul played well in this match after really giving up a howler and not playing well in the previous match and likely costing them and my bet on Norwich. So that was pretty disappointing, but I guess good to see him bounce back against Brentford. Getting half of a goal at home, I think, speaks to the Norwich issues, because Southampton are not a very good team, but they've been on a hot streak. They've been winning a lot. They're healthier. Hassan Hasenhuttl has shown that when his team is healthy, they can compete at the top of the table almost. And they certainly weren't that after a great start to last season. They've been putting it together lately. But I got to say that laying a half of a goal on the road with an offense that doesn't get many chances. Certainly, they've been taking their single chance a match recently and then holding on for dear life. But I don't really know that that's a recipe for success, especially as a half a goal favorite on the road in the Premier League. Didn't work for Mourinho with a much better Tottenham side. So I'm interested in Norwich. The problem is that how can I expect them to score? Timo Pukki looks okay in international play, but looks past it in Premier League play. And the Norwich defense is questionable, and they one big mistake and they really can't recover. And so I think for the rest of the season, trying to take some sort of number that's below 1 on Norwich is going to be very difficult. I'm going to try to make this brief because I know I'm being long-winded, so keep moving along. Wolves and West Ham, currently West Ham a quarter goal favorite on the road. Wolves had a pretty disappointing performance entering into the international break with Crystal Palace. But after complimenting Patrick Vieira, I guess I can't really be as hard on Bruno Lage as I think Wolves have been playing really well. Their defense has been solid for the last season and a half or so. And that's something that I think is going to be a big deal against West Ham, who I still question their offense. Mikel Antonio went away, played for Jamaica in the international break. Wonder what his fitness status and what he'll look like in return to the team for this matchup. Same thing, though, you could say about Raul Jimenez for Wolves. And Wolves' offense is a lot more limited than West Ham. I mean, I don't think there's a ton of great offense in this matchup. But the reason why I'm looking at Wolves as a quarter goal underdog at home is their good defense. And I think that they can make it very difficult on West Ham to score. Problem is West Ham is strong enough that I do think they are able to get on the board. So if you're going to play Wolves here, you likely need them to be able to score a goal themselves. And that is a big ask against a West Ham defense that's been really solid under David Moyes. And so maybe this number is where it should be. Next is Watford hosting Manchester United, currently getting a full goal at home, likely trending towards 1.25. United have been a really, really poor team this season. Manager's not really helping them. They have a ton of talent, but I don't know how many wingers you can have on a single roster. Watford on the other side, under Claudio Ranieri, are sitting back and trying to counter the whole time, use their pace, which I think is reasonable. And I think they have to do that because they need to shore up the back because they've been giving up too many easy goals or big mistakes that lead to goals. The problem is Manchester United are a good team that have a lot of good players that can find the back of the net. I think one benefit for that strategy is Manchester United, they really thrive when they have a lot of space and when they're able to counter, and Watford are not going to allow that to happen. With that said, I'm interested in Watford as a big underdog, especially at home where the home support should be there. Problem is, I think as the team starts to underperform or perform poorly, the fans in England especially can seem to kind of run away from supporting their side. with that said, I think trying to close down gaps and make it as hard on Manchester United to score is going to be the way to the promised land. And I think the goal for Watford is to try to get on that counter attack, find a goal that way, or hold on for dear life and try to earn a point on a goalless draw. I don't necessarily think that that's a likely scenario. But as this climbs to 1.25, seeing a Watford 1-0 loss, being able to cash half a bet does seem interesting to me. Last one on Saturday is Liverpool hosting Arsenal, currently giving a goal and a quarter. And it's kind of funny to see Arsenal getting that sort of price. They've been playing really well. The young kids that have been playing under Arteta after Pep Guardiola said so many nice things about him as a genius, as a manager. I'm not sure that that's worked out so far, but that's a lot based on Arsenal expectations and where the club has been or where it is in the minds of supporters and the management and the league and et cetera, et cetera. I do think they've been playing well, kind of under the radar with not playing a bunch of big matches lately. Liverpool, on the other hand, have been so solid offensively. Really struggled with West Ham, but that was a defensive issue, I think. Arsenal, they certainly have the ability to attack and use their pace and the young kind of creators that they have in their attack that I think are not yet polished, but are pretty good to back as a big underdog. So getting 1.25, despite all the juice in the Arsenal side, I'm pretty interested. Maybe this falls to +1, but it's still a decent amount of safety on an Arsenal club that have been really competitive over the last few months after another weak start 2 seasons in a row, at least under Arteta. Liverpool, though, have been firing on all cylinders. And if they can get goal scoring from their wing backs, again, Robertson's been kind of quiet. Trent Alexander-Arnold was great in the last matchup. So we'll see what happens there. But certainly leaning Arsenal for now. Moving to Sunday, Man City hosting Everton, giving 2 goals. Everton in the past is a team I'd want to back here because they're going to really shore up their defense and try to be as strong and stable in the back as possible. I think Rafa Benitez doesn't seem to have the players believing him or doesn't seem to be able to do what he wants because they've been really struggling defensively. And I'm not really sure what to say about that. But you don't really want that against a Man City side. They're very unlikely to allow Everton to penetrate them and score a single goal themselves. So it really depends on how many Manchester City can get. And they do have some offensive issues. All their players are internationals. So we'll see what happens with how their lineup returns from international play. Lean Everton's still getting 2 full goals of insurance, but I don't think it's going to make my card. And last but not least, in England, we have Tottenham hosting Leeds. Leeds getting 3/4 of a goal on the road. Tottenham offense hasn't deserved to lay this type of number, coming off a 0-0 before they went into the international window. Leeds, on the other hand, their offense is really questionable. Even when Patrick Bamford is healthy, haven't heard that he's returning. And the Leeds style of play, I think, has been figured out. It's not as they're not all of a sudden more fit than their opponents. And I think that's a big problem. And Tottenham can certainly are a team that have the talent, especially under Conte, to exploit that sort of thing. But ultimately, Sonny hasn't done much, and Harry Kane has been a shell of himself so far this season. So anytime you can get any sort of safety on a single goal loss, it does interest me a little bit. But I think I'll need a minimum of Leeds +1 to play, and I doubt we'll see that. Okay, so that is a long way through the English Premier League. We'll go to La Liga, which does have a Friday match with Levante hosting the Athletic Club. Levante have been a disaster so far, really. Brought in a new manager and have been looking a little bit better. And it's a big question, though, to see what they're going to look like moving forward. I do think that Athletic Club's really their mantra, their style of play is to defend and try to counter. I think they're going to have a lot of the ball in this one against Levante unless they just decide to open up. I think the new manager has really come in with the defensive mindset. However, the number here, though, Levante getting 1/4 of a goal at home is far lower than I expected. And I don't think it's enough for me to even consider them, really, as I was expecting more towards a full goal of insurance on the home team. Celta Vigo and Villarreal. Currently, Villarreal a slight favorite on the road. Celta Vigo, their offense has been pretty quiet. Defense has never been a strong suit for their club. That's a big issue. Villarreal certainly have been dealing with a ton of injuries to Gerardo Moreno, and that's been a problem for their offense. But Danjuma, their pickup from the Championship, one of those teams that I can't think of at the moment. He's been filling the gaps, and under Unai Emery, who's speculation of leaving for Newcastle, that's gone now. So that's good that he can refocus on the team. And that does seem to be an issue in soccer for some reason, more so than other sports that I follow. Not sure that there's much for me to do here on a Celta de Vigo side that I don't really believe in. Voice cracked. Guess I'm going through puberty again. Sevilla hosting Alaves in the next match on Saturday. Alaves getting a goal and a quarter on the road is interesting to me. It's a big number. Sevilla's offense certainly hasn't ever really impressed in a way that you think they're going to score a ton of goals. I think their defense is usually pretty solid thanks to being protected by the amount of possession they hold. Alaves have been playing a lot better after looking dead to start the season. Joselu, who's supposed to potentially go to Sevilla, I don't know if that's going to set off some extra motivation from either club here in this matchup. But getting more than a goal, I'm interested in Alaves. Atletico Madrid then hosting Osasuna, giving a goal and a quarter. I've been back in Osasuna and not winning at all the last couple matches, match days, jornadas as they're called in Spanish. Trying to forget that sort of thing, just because I don't believe in Atleti's offense at all right now. Suarez looked like he aged a significant amount. Maybe the internationals windows have been affecting him more than others at his age. But that's also seems to be the only place the goals come from. And their defense has given up a ton more goals than they have in the past. Certainly in last season when they were winning La Liga, got off to a great start. And I think a lot of that was because they weren't allowing any goals. And maybe this is coming back to earth. I'm not really sure what to explain it. The problem is for Osasuna is that their goal scoring has never been their strong suit. They're decent at creating big chances, but finishing them is an issue for them. And that's going to be a problem here because I think Atleti are likely to score. Osasuna defense has looked pretty pedestrian over the past two weeks. Maybe a break during the international window where their players got the time off, got to train together. Maybe take a rest is important to them, and maybe the fixture pileup was causing some of those problems. But I think they're in a position where getting more than a goal is interesting to me, even all the juice on the Osasuna side. Maybe this falls to one. But the way Atleti were playing before the international window, it's hard to see them winning a match, never mind winning by 2 goals. Next one, the big one of the day, is Barcelona hosting Espanyol in a Barcelona or Catalunya derby. Espanyol, I think, a little bit in the suburbs, but whatever. It's played at the Camp Nou. Barcelona giving a goal and a quarter with all the juice on their side, so likely coming to 1.5. I was expecting this to be a tight match even before the season started and all of Barcelona's problems, as it seems to be the derbies in soccer are the best type of close matches to bet. There are higher risks for red cards, as we saw in the Grand Derby in Sevilla last window or last match day, last jornada. But ultimately, I don't know where this line comes from. Barcelona, maybe Messi returned to the side in a window where he wasn't allowed to. Just kidding, because that clearly can't happen legally. I don't know where this number comes from. Barcelona's defense has been a disaster. I mean, blowing a 3-0 lead in the second half to Celta de Vigo, who'd been struggling so much before the international break, was crazy. Maybe Xavi comes in and all of a sudden he breathes new life into the team, into Busquets and PK's legs that are put together with spit and glue at this point. I don't know. Espanyol have shown that they can defend. They're really, really lethal on counters, I guess is the way the defensive side would set up, but more so on corner kicks, I think, and esquinas. Those are the biggest things for Espanyol. They score a ton of goals from that, and I think they're going to really make this match as tight as possible. And if this climbs to 1.5, I don't know how this will not be on my card. Getafe on Sunday, then hosting Cadiz, currently giving half of a goal. Don't really know where that number comes from. Getafe's offense is getting healthier, but they're still not a team I trust to score. Cadiz are going to surrender possession, but that's no different for them. Coming off a big win with Athletic Club in their last match on the Friday before the international break was pretty impressive, and they've been playing better after looking a little bit dead in the water, I got to say. Should be a quarter of a goal. All the juice is currently on Cadiz, but I doubt this falls to a quarter. Even if it does, I think I'm still interested. Granada then hosting Real Madrid in a number that I don't see at the moment. Looks like maybe about a goal favorite. Real Madrid on the road seem a little bit cheap to me because Granada have been playing better, but are still one of the weaker sides in this division. Coming off Europa League a couple seasons ago, it's amazing how far they've fallen. I'm not that interested in fading Real Madrid. They've got their flaws. Certainly they're aged and not playing great. but they can score goals. Karim Benzema is there to basically steal your presents on Christmas Day from under the tree. So I think I will let that one pass. Real Betis then visiting Elche, another line that doesn't have a point spread that I'm going to try to do live, try to come up with. Looks like Betis is a quarter goal favorite on the road. The Betis offense hasn't really shown up. Had a good run, good stretch, and then has been pretty quiet. I think their defense is problematic, has been for years now, and didn't look great against Sevilla, especially after Guido Rodriguez took a red card. Will be suspended for this match. I think the home dog, Elche, are always interesting to me. They're usually dogged at home, so that's not saying too much. But I think they played pretty well entering into the international window. Conceded a late goal to Mallorca, if I remember correctly, which is disappointing, but didn't affect the goal spread. I will say on that one. So that was good for me. But I got to say, Betis, they're not really looking very strong. International break came maybe at a good time for them to try to reset, but they were not playing well entering it. And I can't imagine they'll take much momentum leaving it. Real Sociedad then hosting Valencia. Currently, another line I have to figure out by myself, which is really delightful. Looks like maybe 3/4 of a goal favorite at home. Real Arena should be popping. Love that place. Miss it already. Valencia have been looking terrible after a great start to the season. Pretty poor defensively, and the Bordalas changes don't seem to have taken hold like they look like they did beginning of the season. I think even as a full goal underdog on the road, I'm not sure that I want to touch them, and I'm not sure it's getting there. Monday Night Football, Rayo Vallecano hosting Mallorca in a battle of newly promoteds. Rayo giving half a goal with all the juice on their side. Seems a little bit expensive, but Rayo have played really well at home in their weird, oddly shaped home ground. Mallorca have played really well defensively, though. Have maybe solve their issue of conceding in the final moments in stoppage time by scoring to actually save themselves a point instead of giving away 3 like they had in the previous X amount of matches in a row. I think Mallorca, especially as this one climbs, will be more and more interesting to me, as I think they're a defensive side that do have some counterattacking prowess. And Rayo, they have Falcao, who's a great goal scorer. I just am not sure that I believe in them. I've been going against them at home as bigger favorites than I expected, and losing pretty significantly, as they've played really well there. And whatever, maybe it's a fortress, maybe it isn't. But Mallorca are a defense that I want to back in that type of situation, that type of scenario. All right, moving to Serie A. No Friday match, but we do have stuff this weekend. Atalanta hosting Spezia, giving a goal in 3/4. Seemed a little bit bigger than I was expecting. But the Spezia game plan this season has been to play forward on the front foot, attacking football, and their defense has not been good enough to support that. Atalanta are the team you don't want to give space. They have not been playing well to start the season, but have been trending in the right direction recently. And I think Spezia are in a position where they're going to have to score a bunch of goals to compete here. This could be a really high scoring match. 3.5 as a total is pretty high. But it might get there, and it might get there pretty quickly, because I think there's going to be a lot of offense in this matchup, and that's not a position where I want to take even a goal in 3/4 on the road. Lazio then a quarter goal underdog at home to Juve. Juventus haven't looked very good. Allegri maybe is making some progress with a defensive lineup that's getting healthier, and they can play a little bit more on the front foot, more attacking football. Lazio, that's what they do. They're good offensively. Maurizio Sarri has not changed that. I think he's trying to teach them some defensive ways, which they haven't really shown for a couple seasons now, and really didn't seem to be Inzaghi's idea or what he preferred. He was really on the front foot the whole time. I think it's a good thing that they haven't lost their goal scoring, but certainly could use some defense, and getting a quarter of a goal at home from a Juve side that really have been winning matches at the end or not winning them at all. I think Lazio are a team that could score and really can put them under threat. So getting a quarter at home is interesting to me. Fiorentina then hosting AC Milan. Similar number. Looks like it's trending more towards a half of a goal. Fiorentina, their offense has been pretty quiet. Nico Gonzalez, it's kind of the go with if he's in the lineup, they're a lot better. And if he's contributing goals, clearly that's how they're scoring. Without him, it's Vlahovic by himself, and that's a big ask. AC Milan have been playing on the front foot more under Pioli this season. I think they've looked better. We'll see about what their front line looks like with Giroud and also Ibrahimovic getting older by the day. Every day is like 2 days on their legs or knees or whatever. Road favorites certainly don't play well for me, and I'll be looking at the home underdog here. I'm not sure that Fiorentina will make my card. However, Sassuolo then hosting Cagliari. Looks like they are just having to do the math on all these sort of things. It's really, really difficult. Maybe 3/4 a goal or a full goal favorite at home, trending towards a full goal. Cagliari are at the bottom of the table, and there's a good reason for that. They haven't been playing well. Seem like they're just adding really aged defenders in their back line, which I'm sure is not helping. And against a team like Sassuolo that are likely to score, I think that's a big question mark on how they're going to stay with them, hang tight, and how they're eventually going to potentially win this match. I don't really see that happening. Sassuolo are not super strong defensively, but Cagliari, their offense seems to be headers in the box from their striker who's by himself, who seems to get double teamed, because why else would you need to guard anybody else or defend anybody else or really focus on anybody else? So that's probably not one, even at a full goal, I'm going to look at. Bologna then hosting Venezia, giving 3/4 a goal, all the juice in the Bologna side, potentially, maybe not likely, but potentially climbing to 1. Venezia's defense has been good. They've been playing a lot better entering into the international break. I hope that their momentum wasn't lost over that 2-week period. But certainly getting a full goal will be interesting. And even at 3/4 of a goal, I think the Venezia offense has been quiet, and Bologna have been a lot better offensively with Arnautovic in the lineup. But I got to say, Venezia are interesting to me at the moment. Salernitana hosting Sampdoria, currently getting 1/4 of a goal at home, all the juice on the Salernitana side. So maybe that falls to pick them. Sampdoria's offense doesn't do a lot for me. They're a really aged club. And Salernitana, the problem with them is we're expected to be the most likely to go down. So at what point are we buying too low on a home dog? Especially if it falls to pick them, I'll probably be able to say never mind. But currently at getting 1/4, I'm interested. But we'll see if that level of interest actually turns into a play on Sunday morning. Inter Milan then hosting Napoli, giving 1/4 of a goal. These are two very similar sides, 1/4 of a goal for home field, which might even be a little bit weaker, but with all the coronavirus stuff going on in Europe, I'm not sure what capacity is going to look like for this matchup. Napoli have been playing really well. There's some speculation that Insigne might be moving to Inter because his wage demands are too high. That certainly adds an undercurrent to this matchup, but I think he's through and through a Napoli guy until he isn't. And they've been playing so well to start the season. I think Inter have been more fortunate. Both are off to a great start, but I think Napoli played better and deserved more than Inter have this season. And I'm pretty interested in backing Napoli, as their offense has been really good. Defense has been, I think, their question mark, but Inter aren't really in a position where they're really threatening too much. Lautaro Martinez playing a lot for Argentina over the break. Dzeko has been injured and missed some pretty crucial World Cup qualifiers for Bosnia. And I think if he was anywhere close to playing, they would have had him in there. So that's an issue. And I think Napoli getting 1/4 certainly seems like just a straight line home pitch advantage type of number. But I'm not sure how much the home crowd is going to really affect this one. Genoa then hosting Roma, getting 3/4 of a goal at home. It's a big number, but Genoa have been really good at falling 2 goals behind and trying to fight their way back or conceding first. It seems to be what they do. Roma have not looked great in the last month or so, maybe even longer. Mourinho doing his thing, struggling with international play, the continental windows. And we'll see what happens with that number. But if it keeps climbing, I'm interested. I don't see this one getting to +1, but I think Genoa are still a side to look at based on Roma's frailties. Moving to Monday, Verona hosting Empoli. Looks like Verona's about 3/4 of a goal favorite, maybe half to 3/4. They've been playing really well. I think deserve where they sit in the table right now, and maybe even deserve more. Empoli have been playing better though, and have been pretty stingy defensively. I think they've been playing better of late, and are a newly promoted side that I think I do want to back this team from Tuscany. I'm not sure that Verona are a side that I want to do it against, though, as Verona have been a great dog, and that's because they've been beating the big teams in the league. International break didn't come at a great time because they're probably quelled some of their momentum, but I got to say, I'm not sure that I want to be against them unless I'm getting a full goal of insurance. And I don't think that's coming here because Empoli have been playing pretty well. And last one of the week, Monday Night Football, is Torino hosting Udinese. Currently, Torino giving a half of a goal, but all the juice on the Udinese side likely falling to a quarter. I've been off the Torino wagon a little bit lately as they haven't been playing the big clubs and have been favorites. I'm not sure they've been playing well in those scenarios, but Udinese, their defense has not been as strong this season. And so backing them as an underdog is not as appealing. I think their goal scoring has been better. But I'm more worried about their defense and that not showing up. Torino, on the other hand, have done a lot of possessing the ball without scoring. So as a favorite, I think I potentially would look to be against them, against a team that can compete with them. Not sure that Udinese is going to be the one, but if it closes a half of a goal, I think that'll be tough for me to lay off. I think it's trending towards a quarter though, as we speak. Bundesliga. So today we do have a match, Augsburg hosting Bayern Munchen, getting 2.25 goals at home, all the juice on the Augsburg side. Not sure this is going to fall to 2 though, as Bayern catch a ton of money because they thrash teams. That's simply how it goes. Augsburg, their defense, I think, has been a lot better this season. Still not great. Their offense is pretty non-existent against a Bayern club that are going to name their number. So not interested in getting in the way of that one. Bielefeld then hosting Wolfsburg, currently getting half of a goal at home. Wolfsburg have not been playing well. New manager Florian Kohlfeldt came in and I think has been getting some fortunate results that I'm not sure he deserved. Laying half of a goal on the road is a lot for a team with not much of an offense, but the Bielefeld defense is going to be under pressure the whole match because they don't have much and it's really hard for them to score. I think a 0-0 is clearly a victory on the home underdog. But I don't know where this number, if it's getting any sort of bigger than that. And I think you need to get some sort of candy or some sort of help and insurance on a single goal loss. I don't know that I feel good enough on Bielefeld that they'll be able to keep a clean sheet. And I don't know if I feel good enough that they're going to score. So half of a goal seems a little bit too low for me at this point, especially with most of the juice on the Bielefeld home team side. Bayer Leverkusen then hosting Bochum, giving a goal and a quarter. Leverkusen, great start to the season, kind of trailed off and have not been playing well. Bochum are a side that are going to fight really hard and try to keep a clean sheet as long as they can. Leverkusen are a team that can exploit that and can score goals. I'm interested in Patrick Schick's injury status. I'm not sure that he's available, but if he is, that does add some dynamism to the Leverkusen offense. Bochum is the side that I lean at the moment, looking at the number and thinking that 1-0 defeat is pretty likely based on how they're going to defend. I do wish that there's a little bit that I could trust about their offense, which I'm not sure that I do. And we'll see, but getting over a goal from a team not playing well is certainly of interest. Dortmund then hosting Stuttgart, giving a goal and a half. And I wonder about the status of Erling Haaland, if he's going to be back for this matchup. If he's not, that really impairs the Dortmund offense. It's really nothing like what it is with him. And their defense is really bad. The nice part for them is that they get to host Stuttgart, who, if Pellegrino Matarazzo hasn't been replaced yet, the seat is as hot as it can get because they've not really been able to do anything. They've been missing players due to injury, and that's been a problem and probably is a result of playing with a really young side coming into the league last season. They stayed up, but this year it looks like that is going to be in jeopardy, at least how they've been playing so far. And the lines really haven't reflected that until here. I think this one does give me some interest in playing Stuttgart getting a goal and a half, but there's a lot of lineup questions I need to see. Gladbach then hosting Greuther Fürth, currently giving a goal and a half. Looks like it's even trending higher to goal and 3/4. Greuther Fürth are not a Bundesliga level side and look like they're destined to go down. So I'm not interested in backing them as an underdog, even as a big one against a Gladbach team that probably don't deserve to lay that type of number. Hoffenheim then hosting Leipzig. I'm seeing no number for this one. Of course, looks like Leipzig might even be a 3/4 goal favorite on the road. And I'm interested in Hoffenheim. They had a really poor showing entering into the international break, which I think will be a good thing for them to try to show up as well as they can and play as well as they can. They've been really a much better team at home than they have been on the road. And a lot of that's been because of their goal scoring. Can't really explain why that's the case, but that's been a fact, I think, for a while. And I think Leipzig is a team that I'm looking to go against because I don't really believe in them offensively. And I think that even coming off a Dortmund victory, which never happens, seeing them put two of those performances back to back, I think is going to be a big ask. And I really don't believe that their defense is that strong. I'm not sure that Jesse March, he's brought a little bit more offense than Nagelsmann was putting up last season, but I'm not really sure that that's so trustworthy. And that might be a personnel difference, as Szoboszlai have been really good for him and missed a Hungary match, the last of the international window, with a knee problem. I don't know if that was just because they were eliminated and the match didn't matter, but that's certainly something I'd want to consider. And Hoffenheim, their goal scoring has been great at home. So I think as a home dog, that's something that's of major interest to me. In the nightcap on Saturday, the Berlin derby with Union hosting Hertha Berlin. Currently, Union giving half of a goal, and that's a pretty big number for them to lay. All the juice on the Hertha side, and certainly that's not a prom queen or someone that I want to back. But I think their defense has been a little bit solidified. I mean, I'm grasping at straws trying to find ways to complement Hertha. I think if you're going to look at anything, their defense is been better than their offense, but their offense has been pretty non-existent and their defense hasn't been great. The thing is, Union are a side that are still just trying to stay in the league. They do have European competitions, which has been distracting, but I think a lot of their players or few of their players have been on international duties. That's probably might be the healthiest or more they'd have the most energy of any of their matches of late, which is good for them in this derby. But I think derby matchups are really tight. Again, red cards seem to always happen in these type of things, and so that's certainly a risk. After I think there was an early one that Union took in this matchup last season, but Hertha getting half of a goal I think is too big. As it falls to a quarter, I think that's a little bit more fair, but still, even as an underdog, I think it'll be interesting to me. Moving to Sunday, Freiburg hosting Eintracht Frankfurt, currently giving half of a goal in their new stadium, playing well, sitting third in the table. Not much more complimentary I can be about Freiburg. But Frankfurt on the other side have not been great to start the season, but are getting half of a goal, and I think that's too big. All the juice is currently on the Frankfurt side. We'll see if this falls down to a quarter. I think that's more appropriate, but similar to the last matchup I was talking about, even Freiburg giving a quarter of a goal at a normal juice seems to be a little bit more respect than I think they've been getting over the past few seasons, and would be certainly buying high at a high point on their team and their expectations based on where they sit in the table. I'm not sure that that's a great idea. And I think Frankfurt might be a good buy low scenario, currently at the half of a goal, I think, but also at a quarter if it gets to that number. Mainz then hosting Cologne in the last matchup of the Bundesliga weekend. Mainz giving a quarter of a goal, which I think seems pretty fair. I'm not sure that Cologne have really played very well over the past month or so entering the international break, and that's been a concern after a really good start to their season. I think people maybe weren't expecting them to be on the front foot so much, and maybe that's been figured out. But I got to say, the Mainz offense does leave me wondering or leave me wanting to be giving a quarter of a goal to anybody. But it's basically a home pitch type of number, and not one that I really disagree with strongly. But I think if gun to my head, I'm certainly leaning to Cologne, the underdog, getting a quarter on the road. Okay, last but not least, going to try to rattle through this as quickly as possible because we're certainly going long on time, but I'm giving you, the listener, as much as I can. Monaco hosting Lille, another Friday match. Monaco's, I'll start with the spread. Monaco giving half of a goal, all the juice on the Lille side, and I think that should be there. Monaco's offense has been pretty quiet all season, split between multiple competitions, but I'm not sure that's the best excuse because they're really deep side that have offensive players that should be doing better. It's been a struggle. Lille have not been the same defensively and certainly have not had the same offense either. It's basically two teams that have, I think, underperformed expectations. I think Lille were expected to come down to earth, but I had higher expectations for Monaco entering the season. I'm interested in Lille here getting a half of a goal just because Monaco's offense has been pretty non-existent. And I think Lille are a team that you can believe in defensively to make it tough on Monaco because almost anybody has so far this season. PSG on Saturday, then hosting Nantes. No numbers again. I mean, BetOnline is basically taking the weekend off, apparently. Looks like I think PSG is around a 2-goal favorite. Let me cross-reference with the Man City number. Maybe 1 3/4. Sounds like Neymar is going to miss this matchup. Messi did start and played, I think, 90 minutes against Brazil in the international window. So we'll see what he looks like and what that PSG lineup looks like. Nantes have been playing better and I think have been a lot more competitive, especially on the offensive end. I think it's been a lot better than expected. And PSG's defense has certainly got some holes. But I'm not sure that I want to spend a ton of my time going against PSG or clearly better running away with the league, which I think any sort of motivation angle or lack of motivation angle is something I'm interested in going against PSG because they seem to be always focused on Champions League, and I'm not really even sure what they're focused on in the league, especially now with a big lead in League. So Nantes are interesting, but I'm not sure the number's ever going to be big enough for me to feel comfortable backing them. Rennes then hosting Montpellier. I believe this was -1 last night. It's about what I would guess for today. Montpellier's defense has been a question, but it's been holding up pretty well. And their offense, despite selling their best players at the end of the transfer window, has been really good. I believe in them to hang around, though Rennes have been playing awesome, dominated Lyon in the matchup before the international break. But I think some of that momentum could be hurt by the break. It certainly could be affecting Montpellier. But seeing Rennes and kind of where they restart from and seeing if they can win and beat a decent Montpellier offense by multiple goals, I think is a question that I'm willing to ask with a Montpellier play. Then we have moving to Sunday in the onslaught of, I guess is the early match. We have Stade Brest hosting Lens. Looks like they're a quarter goal underdog at home is at least where I'm seeing it currently. Having to make a call myself on all these lines is really, really enjoyable. Lens are going to play on the front foot. They're going to dominate possession even on the road. And I think that's a big question for Brest if they can score themselves, but ultimately as a quarter goal underdog pinned back in their own half, that does look a little bit scary to me, especially at 6 a.m. local time. Angers then hosting Lorient, giving half of a goal, and I don't really know where that number comes from. Angers have been playing really well, and Lorient have not been great of late, but I got to say the Angers offense is pretty quiet, and I think this number should be a quarter. So getting half of a goal where I'd win a full unit on a draw does seem of interest to me to back Lorient. Metz then hosting Bordeaux. Metz giving a quarter of a goal. And I don't know what Metz team is giving this sort of number. Last year's probably deserved to give this type of number to Bordeaux, who are struggling to make payments to their players. But ultimately, Metz, they sold off a ton of players. They've moved on a bunch of guys because they're, I think, a smaller club that can't afford a lot of the big wages. And Bordeaux, who certainly have money issues on their own, they've been really good at coming back from deficits, even winning matches lately, coming back from deficits. I think getting a quarter of a goal from one of the least capital infused teams in the league is something I'm interested in for sure. Strasbourg giving half of a goal at home to Reims. Reims has been really good. I really like their manager, came over from Celta de Vigo after he was sacked. I think he's added an offensive flair to a defensive side that can sit back and really defend. Strasbourg have been playing really well, though, and it's not someone that I really want to be going against. They added to a pretty good defense in the offseason, bringing in some good offense, and Kevin Gamero coming in. But I think getting half of a goal, even though all the juice is on the Reims side, I think at a quarter, I'm able to stay away from this one. At a half, it's going to be hard for me to keep Reims away from my card. Troyes then hosting Saint-Etienne, giving a quarter of a goal. It's another one where I think a home favorite doesn't really deserve what they're giving. Saint-Etienne with a huge comeback with 2 goals in stoppage time to really screw me in the last matchup. But a big win for them, first win, and they're fighting their way back from the bottom of the table. I like their chances to potentially stay up this season, but they do have some work to do to keep that going. I think they're a better side, and getting a quarter of a goal on the road is of interest, though all the juice on their side. And it looks like this might trend towards a pick'em. Clermont Foot then hosting Nice, getting a quarter of a goal at home. Nice, I think Galtier as a manager is someone I don't want to fade. He's great defensively, and I think Clermont is going to push forward and try to play offensive attacking football, and that's going to set them up for a lot of counterattacks that Nice are probably going to put away. And so that doesn't make me feel good about taking only a quarter at home. I think on the road, this might be a different scenario. But I'm not sure they want to go against Nice with such little insurance, even though this might be climbing to a half. That might be a little bit more interesting, but even then, still maybe not enough. And then the nightcap, the Olympique Lyonnais hosting Marseille. Currently, Lyon giving half of a goal, coming off a disastrous performance in the nightcap against Rennes last weekend. This is going to be a huge rivalry game. Crowd will be insane and probably throwing stuff on the field, as that seems to be what happens in French league games. But I got to say, Marseille getting half of a goal. I think they've been playing a lot more pragmatic, and I think Sampoli is Sampaoli has been better lately and not just attacking on the front foot the whole time. But Lyon are going to try to score a ton of goals. They're going to leave their defense open, and I think Marseille do have players that can really kind of stick in the wound. And I think ultimately, what I've seen from Guendouzi, who's really shown to be more of an attacking option for Marseille than the defensive option than he was in previous seasons. Getting half of a goal, I think, is too high. A quarter, I think, is more accurate. And it doesn't even look like that number's getting there. I think a lot of that based on what's expected to be a really big home crowd. I'm just not really a believer in the Lyon defense, and their offense is certainly good. But I think getting half of a goal is enough for me to take a risk and to step out against that Lyon offense and to believe in Marseille to make this rivalry matchup as close as possible, coming down at the end and maybe even winning straight up, I got to say, on the road. So that is probably 45 minutes, almost on the dot of the European football calendar for this weekend. Hit me on Twitter, @thereal_G Warner. Should have a college basketball podcast coming out later today. But thanks for joining, and would love to answer anything you got as we try to make some more money in Europe. Thanks for coming. Talk to you soon.